Did you know that about 10% of fathers become depressed before or just after their baby is born, and that new fathers are actually more at risk? Throughout history, we have always thought that depression, and especially postnatal depression, only affects women. But now it seems that there is actually also a version that fathers, and especially new fathers, also can potentially be going through. Now, this raises a lot of questions, and this is a very interesting topic and one that deserves a tremendous amount of time, at least, to be dived into to help fathers who are going through this and feeling completely lost. Because one of the worst things to tackle is when you know that you have a challenge that you're dealing with, or there's a problem, there's something happening within you, your brain chemistry, your emotions, the way that you normally would show up in life, but there's no explanation for it. And often when there's no explanation for something, we don't know which solution to apply. So that's why I'm going to dive into this topic to see where and how we can best provide support, insights, even if it's just simple steps to support you best on this journey and on this path as well. And I will be bringing in my husband a little bit later here in this video so that you can also hear from his side how he managed his low moments. So guys, just very briefly, my name is Evette Rose. I'm going to be your host here for this video today. And I'm also best and well known for having written the big books called Metaphysical Anatomy, which is psychosomatic stress and ailments for adults. And yes, also if you're a parent, we have the kids version as well, because there's a lot of things in our history that's creeping up in children these days, especially now in today's day and age. And we'll be talking a bit about that in other different videos and versions as well. But now I want to be coming back to depression, and especially postnatal, or also known as postpartum depression in men. Now I want to raise something really very important here. First of all, let's just look at first what we assume men should be. Because this is one of the reasons why people they're shocked. They're thinking, oh my God, men can have postpartum depression? Well, here's why we're finding a little bit challenging to warm up to this idea. Let's say men normally are very much positioned as like emotional stoicism, basically. So like it's almost like men are often expected to suppress their emotions, right? And to maintain almost like a stoic demeanor, right? Showing like minimum vulnerability or sensitivity. We always look at men for problem solving, right? So there's almost like an expectation that men should be skilled at problem solvers and to be capable of independently finding solutions to any challenge that rises. Now, here's one of the biggest downfalls, and I'm going to be touching on this a little bit later in terms of problem solving, disappointment, and how a vulnerability and meeting vulnerability is affecting men in very, very toxic and negative ways. We also look at men as having to be the provider, right? Taking on that role. And men are frequently expected to be like these primary providers for their families and to be responsible for a lot of financial stability and for success. We look at them to show and also, maintain like physical strength and toughness. Sometimes when I talk to women and I ask them, what is your ideal man? She's like, I want a man's man. Right? So this is something that we are primarily biologically attracted to. This is a pure biological response. But where is our emotional response? Where is our intellectual response that comes within that? That means that we're much more biologically driven rather than being intellectually and maybe also a bit more emotionally driven in that sense as well. But I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. There's so much to be said here that I will definitely be breaking it up into different segments and also videos so we can dive a little bit more into that as well, because this is very important. We also look at men to be tough, right? Like toughness. Society often, places a lot of emphasis on the physical strength and the toughness as defining characteristics of masculinity, right? Expecting men to demonstrate physical, prowess and resilience. Now, when we also look at independence, right? So men are very much encouraged to be self-reliant, to be independent. They can be the lone wolf and be okay. Men are also biologically programmed to be in communities. It's not just women. We are all biologically designed to be in communities, and that includes men as well. So when there's an absence of support, when there's an absence of community, yes, it's going to be felt, right? So men have the same response as what we as women would to an absence of connection, an absence of support, an absence of community. If women are feeling that pain and that distress of not having that, ladies, men feel it too, right? Because they are also biologically inclined and designed to be community and connection orientated as well. But they don't show it because of all these stigmas. Now, we also look at men for leadership and assertiveness, right? So leadership qualities and assertiveness, this is often very much associated with male stereotypes and also expecting men to take charge and to assert themselves in various situations. Now, when we also look at throughout generations, there has been a widely adopted belief that men should suppress their emotions. This is not new, right? So they solve every problem and simply just get on with it, shake it off and get on with it. Boys don't cry, right? I'm sure a lot of you have heard that. Now, I think it's about time that we challenge and transform this mindset, that we really truly need to start fostering a community where it's completely acceptable and where it's encouraged to be acknowledged, right? And to acknowledge also for men in themselves to say just that, you know what, I'm not okay today. And that's okay, right? So fathers also experience hormonal changes during and after their partner's pregnancy. Did you know that? Research has shown that their testosterone levels actually decline during this time. And that testosterone is normally what they need to have this prowess and the masculinity and to feel strong and to be the leader, to have it all together. Testosterone has a lot to do with that. Now, it's quite common for men whose partners are going through depression to also show signs of depression themselves. It's called mirroring. You can thank these little mirror neurons on the side of your temples. If you clench your teeth and you feel your jawline clenching up, it's around that area. And of course, it moves more back into the brain, but this is kind of like the main point for them. When the majority of the people that you spend time with are depressed, you're going to start to reflect that. And we spend a lot of time with our partners as well, especially during our downtime when we go home. Now, if that is there, then there is a possibility of that behavioral patterns to be copied and to be deeply felt. And of course, you're going to feel when your partner is upset because there's an emotional connection. When we also look at what research shows is that up to half of men with depressed partners actually end up experiencing it too. So now you have two people going through a really rough time. Who's going to support who? This is why to have tools, to have support systems in place, to have certain, steps that you can take in place is tremendously, phenomenally important. Because sometimes, dads can feel a bit disconnected from both the mom and the baby, just like a mother can feel disconnected from a child as well. It doesn't mean that they necessarily reject the child. There is a chemical response also taking place, and a very strong one that we know very little about, because if we understood it well enough, we would have had a grasp on it, and we wouldn't have had postpartum or postnatal depression and all these emotions and ringers that we're actually going through. And a lot of dads, they really want to be involved in the whole newborn experience, but they kind of feel like they're a little bit on the outside. And moms might not even realize that they're unintentionally excluding dads from taking care of the baby, because our instinctive responses as women to take care of this little bundle that's helpless and needs our protection, and we have to feed it and nurture it and take care of it, your full focus and awareness is there. And this is a survival response, right? This is a pure biological response that we have towards this helpless little being that we are now responsible for. That a mother might end up getting so caught up in bonding with that child that they don't realize that the father maybe wants some time with the child too, and even time with the mother as well, right? Now we're coming back to connection. Men are not all, some men are not comfortable with connection because they just haven't been wired that way. It's just not acceptable or seen as being acceptable by society that it's okay to crave connection. It's a biological response, right? So it's very natural to want connection, whether it's from the mother or the child or just community or just support groups, right? So what can also happen is that either the mom or the dad has a personal or a family history of depression, right? So now there can be other mental illnesses that can be triggered with this new event that's taking place, with this new hormonal fluctuations that's taking place by having a child. And it can increase a person's risk of experiencing prenatal or postpartum depression. And that is also something to be aware of, right? So listen, becoming a parent, it's a big deal. And it requires some, psychological adjustments. And my husband and I, Victor and I, we're expecting now our second child. She's still in my womb, 2 weeks away. And so I have to say, I was mentally preparing myself for when our first daughter, Zaya, came. And I still didn't get it right, or at least I felt like I didn't get it right. So right, we're very critical on ourselves. And sometimes when we have such high expectations of how we think we should show up, and then we're going through all this chemistry and those chemical changes, and we feel like we're failing to show up in the way that we intended to, it leaves us in a state of disappointment. And when you are in a state of disappointment, it means that you are in the opposite mind frame of being solution orientated. No one likes to feel powerless. No one likes to feel unresourceful. And that is what disappointment triggers. And so what I've learned was not to set my expectations too high. I set very high expectations for myself with Zaya. And now I've learned with our second daughter, and Victor did this as well, to not have as high expectations. To sometimes know that a child's needs are very basic. They just want you to be there when they need comfort and to be fed, and they're happy. That's really it. They don't need all the glam and the glitter and a baby room painted full of I don't know what and all this money spent on them. It doesn't even enter their mind the effort that you've gone through to do all of this, because that's not their focus. You, as the father, are their focus, right? It's a whole new world that we as parents step into that requires almost new coping skills, right? And that we haven't even developed yet. We don't even know what it might be because we haven't faced the situation yet. And it's this uncertainty, this feeling of inadequacy that feeds into the depression. And that can exasperate our chemical responses. And it can almost even magnify the current state that we have. Now, something else that can also really, really hamper your mental state is sleep deprivation. Most new parents don't fully grasp how much lack of sleep can contribute to anxiety, to depression, and all these different symptoms. Because let's be honest, right? Most of us who are already parents, we underestimate how deeply sleep deprived we really truly are. I mean, imagine you're getting on a flight. If any of you has traveled overseas, there's jet lag. And then you have the traveling in between. Imagine that you get on 3, 4, 5 big flights per week. That's what sleep deprivation feels like. Your body is always in a state of confusion, and it doesn't have the energy resources to get you to behave certain ways or to feel certain ways. And this can exasperate our feeling of feeling unresourceful. It's not that you are resourceful. But if you don't have energy, it can cause you to feel weak. And in that state of weakness, we feel unresourceful. Now, let's have a look a little bit quickly here about what are the signs of postpartum depression in men. Well, we have the famous one, which we all seem to go through, is anger, right? Sudden outburst or often even violent behavior. There can be a tremendous sense of increase in impulsive or risk-taking behavior, including, for example, turning to substances like alcohol or prescription drugs for a relief. Irritability, low motivation. There can be physical symptoms such as maybe like headaches, like muscle aches, stomach problems, digestive problems, poor concentration, and even suicidal thoughts. It can be that you feel you need to or want to withdraw from relationships, working a lot more or a lot less. And many fathers will also get what's called generalized anxiety, sometimes even OCD, and often even post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, when we also look into heterosexual couples who are expecting a child, there's often this prevailing message that pregnancy and birth are solely the woman's domain. Now, it's almost like dads get left out of the equation. So they might not be included in prenatal appointments or classes and even the actual labor itself. And when they are present, they're usually told that their only role is to be supportive, regardless of any anxieties or fears that they might have themselves. And it's really interesting how this message reinforces this traditional masculine stereotype of protect and provide, right? Regardless of how you feel, protect and provide. When fathers are expected to show strength and to provide support, it begs the question, who are they if they happen to experience depression? This needs to be paid attention to, because men, just like women, have different levels of endurance, different levels of thresholds as well. And these limitations are not a weakness. It's simply what we cannot handle to recognize, right? We need to recognize and be at peace and find ways through supportive communication to work through it. So guys, so now here I'm going to be bringing in my husband, Victor, and he's just going to be talking to you a little bit about, depression and also going through the emotions, because especially if you have your partner that's going through this postnatal depression, or maybe you feel the onset of that, maybe your partner's behavior is affecting and influencing your chemistry and your biochemical responses in your body as well, what to do, and just really simple basic tips, apart from, of course, please always go for professional and medical help, and talk to your doctors if there's medication even perhaps that's needed. That should never ever be excluded or ignored. But just on a day-to-day basis, simple steps, I would love for my husband Victor here just to talk to you a little bit about how he managed these moments and times also when he went through really bad phases, because I went through a very heavy depression at one point with our newborn daughter, that I felt completely out of my depth, and there were probably moments where I pulled him also into that dark place with me. But I have to say, you handled yourself really beautifully during that time, and to just share what you did to support you during these moments.
For me, being in a positive state, that doesn't come for free. You cannot just think, okay, I'm entitled to a positive state and wake up in the morning and wait for the positive. It's actually, you have to recreate your positive state, or you have to feed it every day. I see it a bit like, when you go to a cocktail bar and someone mixes you a cocktail, it's like, you need to find out what is your personal cocktail, what makes your chemistry, your well-being complete, right? And then you have to mix it every day. So in the morning, for example, when I get up, I try to do meditation, just 12 minutes. It has shown to me that it reduces stress, anxiety by at least 40%. For me every day. And then I take my coffee. I have my little daughter, giving her the bottle, and just be present with her, feeling her on she's sitting on my chest, and just being present with her. I also go on a nice 30 minutes to 1 hour walk every morning with her, and we go to nature, and that's beautiful for our connection. It's good for her to to feel the nature for myself. And then always I do workout, like running. I do weightlifting, or like just power exercises, Thai boxing, and also normally I try to read some Stoic philosophy together with my wife. It also gives you some prompts, how to think, feel about life. And so this is my personal cocktail. All of this together makes a cocktail. And during the day gets shaky. There's other stuff falling in, some crap, right? And basically I see it like every morning I have to empty the glass, make it clean and mix my cocktail again, right? And, also what for me I realize is important is not having this super ambitious goal. You want to run 3 hours per day and blah, blah. It's better to have very low goals. For example, doing one set of push-ups or going to run for 10 minutes. But actually, once you do it, if your goal is to do one set of push-ups, you end up actually doing 6 because you get empowered, okay? But you don't feel like a failure if one day you don't have much time or something and you just do the minimum goal. So that is basically my personal formula is the life cocktail you have to mix every day. So that's on that side, and on the relationship side and also with your family, like, don't look at being a husband and a father and all this like a must, like a duty. It's look at it beautifully as a beautiful responsibility and enjoy that responsibility. It's a totally different mindset if you enjoy it and you really enjoy this beautiful duty that you are gifted, that you can take up this responsibility. I think that's a very important mindset, and not only with relationship, fatherhood, with everything, right? And sometimes situations are challenging, and be thankful that you are challenged, because we are like plants. We need to grow, and we can only grow by being challenged from time to time. So just enjoy these challenges, enjoy this responsibility. Yeah, and at the end is also happiness. It's actually inside you. Happiness is inside you. It's not external. Don't expect that you need to get this new job or your business need to reach some goals or you need to feel a certain way with your wife or this or that. Happiness is I would say 99%. It's internal, okay? And if you are aware of that and you don't make your happiness dependent on externalities or external things, then you're in control of your happiness, right? And if your partner has a depression or is in a dark space, or if your business has some troubles or something, your happiness level doesn't go down because you are fully aware that your real happiness is inside of you. You are the master of your own happiness. And a very good important formula for happiness is happiness equals reality minus expectations. So whenever you have expectations, and life is messy, things never actually come out exactly like you imagined or you expected it. So just don't have any expectations, okay? And it doesn't mean you're like a totally lazy and you have no expectations. That's why, coming back to the other thing, in every situation you always do your best you can in your ability, in your sphere of control, but then let go. Don't have any expectation, especially on external things, right? Of course you have expectation on yourself, on things you can control, but also don't have too high expectation on yourself, right? As I said, sometimes it's a day and we cannot run for 1 hour, right? So do the best you can in the moment, but and then trust life, let go and trust life that things go well and have no expectations.
And so now there you have it. And remember, if you're finding yourselves in this dark place, please, please, please get medical support, go to your doctor, speak to therapists. Don't leave it unattended, even if it means that you have to temporarily take medication just to get yourself through this phase. Because I call this a phase, because this is something that people normally get out of. Yes, it can take sometimes a while, but the mindset, if you're going to have a mindset that this is it, this is what I'm destined for, look what you're setting yourself up for, right? So for me as a woman, which of course is a different experience a little bit with postpartum depression, but also with my husband Victor, that also, went through his moments, because he also had his low moments seeing me going through a bit of a dark time as well. And it's very important what you've heard about sometimes just keeping things simple. Keep it simple. Lower your expectations. Find your cocktail. Find what makes you happy. And have goals that you can look forward to, or something that you can work towards to. It's a healthy distraction, and make sure that it is healthy as well. So dads, wherever it is that you are, or if you are going to become a dad, we see you and we love you, and thank you for your love, your support, your time, and everything that you do for us as women. Tremendously thankful, because it takes teamwork to make a dream work. Thank you for being here with me today. So guys, there you have it. Also remember to subscribe to my channel, stay up to date. And also I have a free MAC membership website where we have so many courses up there. There's meditations, there's workshops, whatever you need, it's there. There's so many wonderful webinar replays as well that you can benefit from, and also to observe and to learn from. Guys, also remember that I have written 18 books. 18, 1-8. And one of many among them are Metaphysical Anatomy and Psychosomatics for Children. So this one is the Psychosomatics for adults. This one is the Psychosomatics for kids. So these books are super popular. People love it. If you want to learn more about how your body works, understanding messages behind it, maybe you have that gnawing pain, or maybe an ailment that's surfacing, and you want to understand what is it that your body is trying to tell you. Guys, these books are going to be absolutely invaluable to you. You can find it at evettebooks.com, where you will also find all my other 18 books. And guys, also remember to keep asking all these great questions. I love to answer your questions at Ask Evette, where we discuss, life conundrums and, life challenges, and just answer questions perhaps where you feel, quite stuck in your life. I would love to share my perspective with this, and to help you to resolve perhaps certain pain points that you might be having in your life as well. So guys, remember to stay in touch. There's so many great things that's happening. And also something really awesome is that this book is already also in video format. So imagine 679 medical elements in video format, and also with meditations and healing courses, workshops, masterclasses, everything behind that in our Platinum membership site. So guys, remember to check that out. There is so many great things happening there. So see you there.